What makes anti-poaching very, very difficult, here you see the river system that we're on. It's the international border. A river or a dam, not too much of a problem to navigate, and we've got vessels, we've got boats, we can do that. But when you've got international borders, it makes things very, very, very complicated and difficult. You've got two different sides that you need to talk to and coordinate things with. In this particular instance, we've got Zimbabwe and Zambia, and we've got to be cognizant of relations. The relations are very, very important. But that doesn't mean that we've got to stop our efforts, our anti-poaching efforts. So here, the additional complexity is all the little channels. The motorized boats are very, very important, but then to get in these little channels, it becomes very, very complicated with engines and larger boats. So we then size down into boats like rubber ducks and even canoes in some instances. Now, on the Zambian side, in this particular region, you've got a lot of subsistence people. They've got their fishing, and fishing is the order of the day, and they've been doing fishing for centuries. Their ancestors have been fishing, and so when we catch a fish poacher, the first thing that they say is, but my ancestors did it. And it's quite correct, it's quite true. However, today we say, well, do you have a permit? No, they don't have a permit, so therefore they are branded as fish poachers. And certainly with the filament nets that they've got, it makes fishing for them very, very easy in comparison to just putting a rod in with a single hook. So they're netting out river systems rather than taking one or two out for themselves. So again, it's depleting the waterways, which we can't have. So it's not just about what's happening on the land, but also what's happening here in the river system. Here on this stretch, you see how wide it is. Alright, so this stretch here, I guess probably about 800, 900 meters wide. This is a nice crossing point, but it's also quite visual. We can see the guys coming over. Alright, so this here, daytime hours, our Zambian neighbors will be right tucked up on their side in the reeds. We don't see a lot of activity during the day. But behind us, we've got the islands, then they will cross through there quite regularly. And that's what we've got to watch out for. Right, so as we're going up to these reeds, we're looking for nets, and the nets are buoyant. Often what the guys will use is the bottom of a flip-flop or a pair of slops. They will make floats out of that, and these nets will just be underneath the surface. So conditions like this with the waves, very, very difficult to pick them up. But as we're going along, we're just going to just have a look for any line that may be on top of the water. We might be looking for a reed or something that's been caught on it. And if we do see anything, we'll go and investigate. But difficult conditions with the waves and also the overcast skies we've got at the moment. But we'll be looking in the reeds. It'll be tied onto a reed. You should see a couple of floats. What the guys do is they will then tie down the nets with some stones or rocks onto the bottom of the net, which keeps it hanging vertically in the water. So a lot of the time with the types of work that we're doing on these rivers, the boats with an outboard motor, such as the one we've got here, is not always the most practical. And that's because of the rocks and the underlying topography just underneath the water line. So ideally what's required in anti-poaching efforts such as this is a jet boat. They can go in a couple of inches of water, whereas this is a couple of feet. So it certainly does prohibit a lot of the sort of chase that is necessary from time to time. And that's why we choose different vessels, sometimes rubber ducks, which can, they can go in a very, very shallow water. But jet boats actually, for this stretch of Zambezi River line, would be ideal because of how low that clearance is. So a couple of years ago, there was a hippo poached on the island to my right, and in the evening time, this whole area here was lit up like lanterns. There was lots of boats and people on here, and they came over. One of the issues on the river is where the border is. On the map, it's easy to see it. On GPS, it's easy to see it. But when you've got guys coming down here and doing anti-poaching, and guys coming over here doing the poaching, they see meat. The border is very, very murky. No one knows where it is. So guys are coming over. They came over at night. Of course, at night time, you've got no ability to put the boats out, so we couldn't apprehend. And it was a very, very big problem. So nighttime excursions here are a significant issue. And I'm not sure how we get around that. I guess one of the things we need to do is make sure that the poaching doesn't occur in the first place, and then we don't have to step in later on when the animal is actually down and trying to apprehend. It's better to try and prevent it rather than provide the cure later. But very interesting how this whole area was just, it looked like a boat festival at one point. It was incredible, about 9-10 o'clock at night.